Yes, and welcome to KRUU's studios here, the Mission Control, as we like to call it. Hope you're having a good day out there in the neighborhood. We'd like to welcome Fairfield Media Center back in the house. We also have a very special guest, Mr. Mochi here of the David Hurlin and Emily clan, taking Honey's old role. Beautiful white golden retriever. How about that? White golden. Sounds good, doesn't it? Well, you've made it to City Business. This is James Moore, Michael Halley in the house. We're going to talk about what went down at City Hall, the haps there, and much more. Michael, how you doing today? Good to see you.
Good. Glad to be here.
Well, we are excited to learn what went down in the City Hallville. Want to remind you, you can check out what's going on after each City Council session. God willing, and the good Lord don't creak up the something anyway. We are talking with Michael Halley after each session, 12:30, 6:30 p.m. Thursday, lunchtime, and then, breakfast time, 6:30 a.m. on the following Monday. And what do you have on the docket?
All right. This is an informal review of our February 22nd regular City Council meeting. In our consent agenda, usually that's just approving the minutes of the last meeting, approving hiring within city departments, and expenditures. There was also a park use permit in there, and it's for September 10th this year.
Okay.
Central Park, noon till 9 p.m., and it's a surrender concert. It's, a praise and worship band will be in the gazebo.
And that's in the fall?
September 10th.
September 10th, okay.
So we approved that. Let's see if I can get back to here. Here we go. Moved on to our public forums and appearances. We had 3. First was Rustin Lippincott from the Arts and Convention Center requesting street closure for March 5th, that's Saturday.
Okay.
So it's going to be Main Street in front of the center and half a block of Briggs, the portion that runs between Main and 2nd, the east side of that. So, again, just like for Fairfest, Ross Walker has the property where the Tribune building once stood.
Beautiful spot.
Is allowing them to use that space, so they want to block off the street. And it's for the 2nd annual, what is it called? I'm trying to find it here. Well, it's an ag show.
Oh, so, I remember last year with the big tractors and big wheels and a green John Deere, and it was fantastic. It looked very graphic, sort of like, it reminds me of, action movies, but what can I say? I'm from Wisconsin originally, so.
So we approve that. So keep an eye out, March 5th.
And that's for one day?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
That Saturday. But they may have to close a little early, as you know, when you try to ramp up for an event. Close a little early, and then you take it down.
By the way, what day did you say for the September event?
It said September 10th.
Which is a Wednesday. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it said. It seems kind of... maybe they got the... Well, between now and then, we'll get it straightened out. Yeah. I'm sure you'll see some advertisements.
Well, Labor Day weekend's the September... Labor Day is September 5th, so...
Yeah, it does seem... odd for
that means Art Walk week. Anyway, we'll
get it figured out, folks.
We have time.
Don't you worry. I just was reading what the form said. So,
all right.
We also heard from Pauline Reeder. She used to be on the city council. She used to actually be the 4th Ward representative years ago. She saw, I suppose she saw it in the paper. The visioning program had this. It's just a vision. That's all they do is they give you visions and they let you run with it. So they gave this concept art, we can call it, for outdoor seating on Central Park.
Cool.
And she really doesn't like the idea of it. She kept calling it a food court. And I think there was a misunderstanding, perhaps, that it was going to take the space where the rose garden or the rose beds are, which isn't the case. It would run east-west, not north-south, so the rose wouldn't be affected. But she just feels that Central Park is fine the way it is, and she wanted to come and let that be known. So I clarified, since I was working with the visioning group, that a vision is just a proposal, but it's not a proposal. It's just a concept. Until it becomes a proposal, there's nothing to talk about. So I am working with French Reniker to try to get some sort of mock-up created that then would be a real proposal. And at this point, it's looking like the design called for 8 tables each side, north and south, of both the east and west side. So that's it's a lot of tables. It's 32 tables. Mm-hmm. So we thought perhaps start with just the middle section, which would be 2 tables, north and south. So a total of 4 on each side, or a total of 8. Start with that. Keep it simple. Keeps the cost down, and keeps the impact smaller. Mm-hmm. See what people think, if they like it. If it gets well used, maybe we expand at some point. If it seems sufficient, maybe that's all we do. And then we get to really play out the concerns about litter and graffiti and vandalism and all the things people imagine may happen if this was in place. Well, we get to try it with minimal investment, not minimal, but smaller investment. So that's probably what will actually be proposed when the time comes. Sometime in the spring, I'm sure we'll have something to make a proposal. But the mayor said, anytime we're considering something, of course, that's open to the public. So Pauline will be invited back. Great. And can speak again and try to find the middle ground.
So she's mocking the idea before the mock-up. Can we say that?
She saw the mock-up and didn't like it.
Okay, saw the mock-up, so it's there.
But, this is a larger issue in any community.
By the way, Pauline, I'm just having a little fun here.
She's got a great sense of humor. She's a sharp woman.
Cool. I mean, all I'm saying is that it's change is always, it's you know probably as well as anybody.
There's a portion of every population, it's not just Fairfield, mm-hmm. Almost anywhere, that resists change, that likes things the way they've been.
And maybe for sound reason, and that's what we discuss, right?
Yeah, well, that's an idea. If something's not broken, don't need to fix it. Don't need to change things just for the sake of change. At the same time, I like to say when someone says it's the way we've always done it, at some point, that way was the new way. At some point, that was an innovative way to do it, and it just became standard at some point. So,
well, I was going to say, me, that to me the logic also applies to things don't need to stay the same just because they've been the same.
Yeah, right.
But that's where we get to have people and people talk and decide. Right. And
so then you find a middle ground instead of making a larger area. Maybe you make a smaller area. I mean, this was the one proposed concept that had the most public support. So it's difficult when someone comes to say don't do it. So what do I tell the large proportion of the population that wants this? It's tough. So
it's called democracy, messy, and
it is. So we'll do our best to find that middle ground and compromise.
By the way, one other little peanut gallery insert from yours truly is that I also appreciate that people do show up from seeing things, and that's what obviously is being expressed there. Yep. We all have a place and a position to do that, and there's a way to get in, step up, and do that. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about, too.
Yeah, so it's great to hear from her. Most of the council members and mayor get to speak with her afterwards.
Cool.
Just great to see somebody who used to be on
alumni.
The council. Exactly. That's what it felt like. We also got the annual report from the Beautification Commission. This is a city commission of volunteers that the mayor created. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say 2002 or 2001 when he first became mayor. And they're basically tasked with, they get a small amount of money from the city and to keep mostly the central business district as nice looking as possible, but that's not all they do. They do a lot of flower planting around the square, but they did weeding and mulching.
A KRUU team worked with them for 3 years.
And this railroad underpass is something they try to keep looking nice.
They do great work.
Trying to read some of the things they did last year. They keep the nodes around the square. When things die, they usually try to get grant money from the Greater Jefferson County Foundation to replace those. So they've been on top of that.
Just say node.
They give out the Rose Awards. Rose Award goes to anybody who does a really nice job renovating a home. Cool. Then they came up with the Historic Rose Award. It goes to somebody who renovated in historic fashion. And there's also the Dorothy Bell Garden Rose Award, which goes to exceptionally beautiful gardens. So they really have a lot of fun. They do the banners that hang up around the square, the local artwork. And then this one I thought was worth mentioning. They did the 9th annual Adopt a Home event.
Right.
They get Cambridge Investment
That's what we worked
employees.
with before on
Yeah.
that. Mm-hmm.
They get them to volunteer because Cambridge allows employees to have 1 day off a year paid.
Right.
Volunteer
That's
leave.
awesome.
And then they get a grant for the paint. And I'm wondering if this will show up well, but this is before and after. Okay, we're going to get some post-production. But this is the house right on the corner of 9th Street in Burlington.
Radio listeners, imagine a house.
Yeah, there's a house, and it needs a new fresh coat of paint pretty badly.
Yeah.
And then the after picture is after the paint, and it's quite striking. So
it looks like $1 million.
It really, I mean, it's amazing
or thousands,
what some paint can do. I got to say.
Great.
And they said it was quite a task. It required a lot of.
The reason we're saying that it's 2 stories at least, maybe.
Yeah, it was a big one. I said they really stretched the volunteers on that one, but it's right by the rec complex where the new outdoor pool is and the new gym and all that. So they felt that it was the right property to do this year.
Well, thanks for that. That's a dedicated group of folks.
Yeah, they really are. All right, we moved on to our action items and our resolutions. So we're looking to potentially refinance some old borrowings. This happens whenever the market becomes a little better, more competitive with the interest rates. We can refinance and save money on interest, which is good. So we're looking into that. And then we adopted the 16-17 fiscal year budget.
Okay.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about how that all worked. So while the city lowered its levy rate, we got rid of the emergency levy rate that's been on there for who knows how long. The assessments went up as per the state. The state came in and said, your valuations are too low. We're going to raise the rates on commercial, I think 18%, and on residential 12%. I think those are the right numbers. So had the city left the levy rate the way it was, we would have, say, cashed in on those higher assessments. We didn't want to do that. Had we pulled the levy rate back to the point where we brought in the same as we did last year in terms of revenue from property tax, we would have had about a $380,000 shortfall in the budget, and that would have required cutting services. So we went with the middle. We lowered it, trying to take some of that, at least for the city's portion, cushion some of that blow of the higher assessments. But at the same time, we didn't lower it as far as we could have to bring in the same amount. So we're bringing in about $380,000 more than last year, even though it's lower. So while you say the city's levy rate went down, it's actually a property tax increase compared to last fiscal year. So
are you following that, folks?
So I'll explain.
Okay.
Here are some of the things, some of the expenses that we had to deal with this year that were not in the budget for last fiscal year. In 2 departments, they've decreased revenue projections based on projections being too high and reality not matching. So the police dropped theirs down by $15,000 and the rec center by almost $70,000. So last year's budget, they assumed they could bring that in, and it's not happening. So this year's budget is less. We needed more dispatch. We needed another dispatch position for the emergency 911, which is over at the Jefferson County Law Center.
Okay.
The way that it's divided between the Fairfield Police Department and the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office is the police departments are responsible for all the dispatch. For whatever reason, they split it that way. And those are tough positions to fill. It's stressful work.
And it's all night or whatever.
Yeah, it's 24/7. So that's another about $53,000 with salary and benefits. The utilities insurance on the new gym that we're just about to open in March, about $75,000. This year we added a 2% contingency. This is something we want to do moving forward. It's just a little bit of wiggle room for unexpected expenditures. We had this with that power outing. Remember that Saturday? The power went out?
I do.
That cost the rec center about $10,000.
Wow.
Some equipment. I don't know exactly what happened, but with that power outing, it becomes costly. And there's no insurance to cover that. So that's just, you have to have contingency. So we'll have about $80,000 in contingency for next year's budget.
Do they have generators, or it's just not enough to keep?
I'm not sure
whatever it is.
What happened, but the media center needed some upgrades to keep to be able to continue to stream and to play the city council meetings on Channel 9. So that's about $10,000.
Which we should remind you is what FMC, Fairfield Media Center.
Yep.
You can see this there or the whole shooting match. Thanks.
But we're on Channel 9 if you ever tune in. Sometimes we are. And then we lowered some rates on some license and inspections, so we're expecting $6,000 less in that. So those are just some ideas.
Okay.
Oh, and then there was this fluke. Pay periods every 2 weeks. Occasionally in a given calendar year, you'll have 27 pay periods instead of the standard 26. Employees love it because they get one extra paycheck, but employers have to have that. So
and what's a paycheck for those that I'm kidding. That's inside.
So that's
joke.
about $75K.
Okay.
$75K. So that's an additional expenditure this budget year that was not in last.
And you don't mean Spanish, you mean 75,000 total.
Yep, using the K as the Roman numeral. All right, so about $383,000. Now, I like this Tom Thompson, who's our Ways and Means Committee chair, also by his day job an accountant, playing around with numbers. He said, all right, so here are the additional revenue we would need to be able to keep the property taxes low, but to cover those, we'd need a new commercial property valued at about $27 million. He said that was like 8 Dexters. So we're probably not going to get that in the next few months. Or 80 new homes, $500,000 homes, 80 of those. Probably not going to get that either. We can hope, but it's not likely. He said, or we could reduce the staff by 8 people. Now there's 66 current cities, full-time city staff.
Right.
You have to subtract out waterworks, wastewater, and public works because they're funded. Waterworks and wastewater are enterprise funds, so they're funded through the fees, and then public works is funded through road use tax. So they would have to come out of police, fire, park and rec, library, and city hall. So if anyone has any ideas of who we can cut, which 8, and still provide services that people expect, then please let us know. But we decided to go ahead and pull down the levy rate, but still bring in a little bit more this year. It gives us basically another year to try to continue to trim. There are a bunch of options on the table, bunch being a technical term, and one that has been, I suppose now is a good time as any to talk about, that has been somewhat controversial, is the idea of going from having full-time drivers at the fire department, meaning someone is in the fire department 24/7, they sleep there, and it's always one person, to having a paid position that's there during regular business hours, so 8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
And somebody on call.
And then everyone else on call, as it has been. So it's not completely eliminating having a driver on hand. The person who would be there during the week would be a mechanic, continue to fix and work on the vehicles, which is what some of the work the drivers do now. Drivers who are there also are sometimes responsible for general upkeep of the fire department. So you'd still have that position, but in the off hours, so evening, night through the night, and over the weekends, there would not be a driver. The fire department, the chief and some of his firemen don't like the idea. They say it'll add 4 minutes to response time. Maybe it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're in a life or death situation, 4 minutes can be a big difference. So nothing's been decided. It's just one of something that's been talked about. Apparently Mount Pleasant has that arrangement and other cities. And so it's not something that we invented but it's just another model, and could save, I don't know, I think it was $170K a year. So that would help if we had to find that 383. If we had to, absolutely had no choice, I think that discussion would become very real. But the higher assessments, again, the state made that decision. The city did not. The county did not.
I know you're saying that because it's always, anything that goes up is always.
Yeah, we didn't make that decision, but we and the county are in a sense benefiting from it. Mm-hmm. So it'll cushion this, but we still have to think moving forward, lowering it, because those assessments, those higher assessments, I think are temporary. They're they're trying to balance. I think they're just trying to bring in some income to the state, but they think that essentially that our assessed values were not matching market values, market being what things were actually selling for, and that they had to come in and balance it out. Mm-hmm. So that's the budget.
Great. By the way, that's Michael Halley. This is James Moore. You are listening to City Business, and we are on KRUU-FM, KRUU-FM.com, 100.1 in your FM area dial, people-powered solar. Actually, sunflowered. We're going to have a beautiful garden this summer.
Oh, nice.
For our 10th anniversary, some cool stuff. But, Michael, we do appreciate you coming in and catching us up to snuff. What else you got there?
Well, we're finally moving forward on step 1 of the sanitary sewer project. Going to put that out to bid in March, and we'll have one contractor doing all the work. It's going to take them over a year. They have over a year to do it. They could finish soon, but it's a big project. It goes from the wastewater plant up to about Lamson Woods. There along Mintz Avenue. They have to bore under Highway 34 bypass. The trail will be closed for about 90 days, so there's going to be some disruptions, but this will take care of a lot of...
Fortunately, it's a huge trail, but...
Yeah, you can go... I mean, if you're riding it, you can use Fillmore and Main Street to continue if you really want to do the loop. Yeah. So there's kind of another route. But this will take care of a lot of the SSOs we talked about last time, the sanitary sewer overflows, because this has been a major bottleneck area where the flow just is overwhelmed, and this new piping will take care of that. So that's a little over $5 million, and we got 2.6 in grants, about half of it in grants, which is excellent.
Yeah.
So moving on that one, we're also entering an agreement with the county called a 2080 intergovernment agreement to pave a portion of, my mind just went blank. Can't remember the name of the road. All right, so the first road south of the bypass that heads out past the DOT property.
Okay.
And to a newly annexed portion that FIDA owns that has the electric running to it. Mm-hmm. And so the interesting thing about some of these roads that are right on the edge of city limits is that half of them are in the city and half of them in the county. There are several roads that are like that. So on the other side of Highway 1, on the west side, we paved it heading to American, and the city had to do half and the county half. So we're now on the east side talking about paving that. We've got this Revitalize Iowa's Sound Economy, RISE program.
Wow.
Grant, paying for a big portion of it, I think 80% of it. So that will be more on that as it unfolds, but excellent. Getting that paved will help develop that property. All right, we had this Grimes Street water tank needed to be painted, and Steve Redinger, the waterworks superintendent, had put it out to bid, and the estimate was around $140,000.
For which now?
To repaint the Grimes water tower.
Oh, I'll be darned.
But he only got two bids, and even the low one was, I think, 300-some thousand. It was really not good. So you're allowed to throw them out and put it out again. So he put it out again, and we got one that came in under the engineer's estimate, and we had like 7 more. So it really is a timing game. When the best time to put these things out.
Right.
When people are looking to line up work for the season, they'll be more competitive. When they're done and they're their bellies are full, you could say.
Yeah.
They won't bid or they'll bid high.
It is a big job, I think.
Oh, it is. And it's interesting because a lot of the companies are from all over the Midwest.
Oh.
I mean, they're not it's not local. It's a little bit of a specialty job.
Yeah.
Because they have to paint the inside, and it's a little claustrophobic in there. But all right, we had 2 reappointments from the mayor to the FMC board.
Okay. Who's that?
I'm trying to remember. Neil Cunningham? Is that right? Oh, that's right. Werner Elmker.
Oh, Werner Elmker, the great Werner Elmker.
Thank you. And Brian Smith, reappointed.
Brian Smith.
Yep. So that's the Fairfield Media Center board, which Jason Strong is their director. Doing great work. And can I announce your move? Or wait? Let's wait. All right, we're going to wait.
So don't
there's
scratch
some
that.
things happening. Some exciting things in the works for the Fairfield Media Center.
Excellent. We love that.
Yep. All right, the last thing was Public Safety Transportation Committee.
Okay.
Katie Anderson's their chair. The traffic situation over at 2nd Street is being managed. Remember the 2nd and Madison intersection was messy. I believe the sign went up today. So it took away, it was two parking spots.
Yes, we've been talking
near
about
the
this
intersection.
one.
Yep.
Roger.
Where a big old semi-truck has been parked most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was just driving there. I was trying to head north, and there was somebody wanting to turn, and they had to wait for me because there was no room. So this should take care of that situation. At least you'll be able to get onto 2nd and then wait for traffic to continue. But so sometimes, the system does work, I just have to say.
Well, I have to say, if that's it, we're actually done a little bit early, and it's been good to see all you guys. I guess the Mochi factor, keeping everything mellow in here. Mochi's out like a dog. But this is James Moore. You've been listening to City Business, and aren't we community radio? Yes, we are. We talk about our dogs in the studio. I don't see them doing that on the Sunday morning political shows. So that's it for City Biz. Stay tuned for more great programming. Siesta Ocha, take us out. We'll be back with more great programming in just a moment. Don't you touch that dial unless you feel like it.